You have been amazing. We have a lot of questions. So Carlo, I will give you the luxury to pick whichever you like.
Oh.
And while I'll try to, and I'll give you some time to ponder and review them, while I will try to answer one question that is specifically for me. And it says the problem that is that in an automated world, people will not have the skills, they will be isolated, and they won't be able to find employment. I want to flip the coin and take you all students that you're about to get a job in a few years from now, 150 years back. You wouldn't be able to be employed because you wouldn't know how to ride a horse. There were no cars. You wouldn't know how to do all this agricultural work because it needed a different level of intelligence. So as the world moves forward and as the Maslow pyramid that Carlos showed, there is always a different set of skills. And it's also the responsibility of the countries we live and the society to give our youth the necessary skills and not leave them out. And this happened also with the Industrial Revolution, that they decided that they needed workers, that they know how to read and write. That's why they decided to educate them. So it's a matter of society to educate our youth. And it's a matter of other institutions like us with what we are doing today, educating our youth. But it is also the responsibility of each and every of us to read, to be in his era. Every era is difficult. The 11th century was very difficult, extremely difficult to find employment. There were like 4 jobs: slave, soldier, monk, priest, or farmer. And after that, it has evolved more and more. So I think our era has tremendous opportunity, but we should not feel victims. We should be the heroes of our era. Every era has difficulties, and it is our responsibility to figure it out how we can learn, grow, and leave a positive impact in our era, because this is the only era we know, we have. Carlo.
Yes. Maybe that there's 2 questions. I just was looking at the chat here, but there's maybe 2 questions that I can. One specific on mobility. Let's just start with short answering, and it was more on the transportation. That it was how are you going to transport stuff? Because it's a little bit a different thing than transporting people, because people always want to be transported. There's some evolutionary drive in people to be mobile for a little bit more than 1 hour. It's remarkable, predictable that we want to just move around. Even in COVID times that everybody was working from home and got their food delivered, people want to just go out wandering, not going from A to B, but just from A to A, having a 1 hour of mobility. So there's a mobility urge, but a package or a parcel or what have you doesn't have this biological need to be mobile. So we just want to transport that from A to B as effective as possible. And when you're in an automated car, and an automated car would be released in Athens or Amsterdam traffic, it's probably going to just park itself after 3 minutes and start crying very loudly because it's not able to go through. It's just being blocked all the time. But with a parcel, it's not a problem that it just moves a little bit too slow. You're not, so that might happen indeed. The question is also that, so I see a lot of automation in delivery, not so much with drones. You hear a lot about drones doing all the transportation. I don't know if you ever heard such a camera drone of 2 or 3 kilograms, which already makes a very irritating noise. But if we start adding 1,000 drones to the air, of all things making even more noise because they have to transport goods, that's not going to create a lot of extra livability. So I don't think drones will be big, to my point of view, but I might be surprised again here. That's on the transportation. I think a lot of automation in the goods transport. The big trucks, probably not going to be automated, but maybe parts of the drive so that the lorry drivers can drive much further. But we have already a shortage of them, so that's a good thing. The other question I come in, it's maybe an essential question that also more hooks in on the theme. how is AI going to threat our humanity? And I think it is a bit of a concern. So, and as we already, and rightfully so, said also by Christina, it's that always was there a kind of battle between the good and the evil of technology. When we invented knives, we could, of course, do a lot of things for hunting, etc. We could also cut ourselves. Or if we invented the brick, we could build houses with it, but you can also smash windows. Now, a gazillion times more brick is used to build a house instead of crashing windows. So in the end, it's always beneficial. But there are a couple of technologies that have the ability to actually demolish the world, like nuclear weapons, or also climate change, to my point of view. I'm not that worried, but it is a very dangerous chemical experiment we're doing with the atmosphere. And I think AI is another one. So that could also endanger the world. So we should take measures now already to give some kind of maybe 10 commandments to so that we're going to be the Moses of the AI, that we give the 10 commandments to the AI, that they stick to that. And if you just Google on Sam Harris, and I'll add it to the chat box. Sam Harris has a very good YouTube movie on that. And it's just for inspiration. Just use the 12 minutes to look at that, and I'll add the title in the comments.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carlo. Christina, there is a question specifically for you. And it says, if we automate some skills an employee must have for his job, so if a machine is doing the work, is going the salary to go down?
Let me take again the example of the call center representative that I shared before. I think the skill, we may need fewer of call center representatives, but the ones that I will need to have to be better skilled. I will need experts to actually manage the really difficult communications, to manage complaints, to really manage the difficult customers. So my bet is that we may need fewer of those people, but those people will be better skilled and better paid. So I do not think by removing skills, you usually remove the routine ones that are conditioned, but then we will need, as very well Carlos said, but we will still need the humans to do the unconditioned parts of the job, and that's where you will need to pay more. So I don't think there is a risk of actually getting the salaries down because you automate part of the job.
Oh. It's also, if you look at statistics, if you compare countries, the more automation you have, the less unemployment. So for somehow your economy will become stronger. And yes, other jobs will come up. That's very hard to explain what the jobs will be, but it's not that there's a relation between the level of automation and unemployment, but it's totally otherwise of what you think. So it's a good thing to automate so that we can do better jobs.
And in a more human way.
Yes, certainly that. For sure. So it's also, there's a lot of discussion on but should we do stuff that costs jobs because it's bad for jobs? And it reminds me to the economist Milton Keynes, who visited China, and he was looking at that, and he saw a lot of people with shovels doing all kind of works, and he said, why don't you use bulldozers instead of shovels? And then the people say, yeah, but if we use bulldozers, then all these people will be out of job. And Milton Keynes said, then I have a better idea for you. Give them spoons. You will even need more people to do the stuff with spoons. And that's actually, you should not create jobs just because of jobs, because it will get down the productivity instead of getting up. We need to push on getting productivity up.
So Carlo, this is a very interesting point. So what you are saying is when we have automation and technology, we are actually creating more value to the economy. We are creating like higher value. If you have an agricultural economy versus an economy that is very high tech, actually the gross domestic product, the salaries, the output of the corporations when they are into technology, it's like higher value items. So an economy overall, a country can be uplifted if they are geared towards technology.
Yes, you're fully right. So actually, it's also why I showed the Maslow pyramid, because the more automation you have, so the more automation in the country, the higher you climb into the Maslow's pyramid. And the difference of the future is being made on the top of Maslow's pyramid. And it's about an experience and an attention economy. Actually, something where the Greek were best at already from the beginning of history. So you might be back in power there. You're all about experience. Yeah, you're all about experience. I'm gonna have some of that next week when I have my holiday in Greece. So I can finally visit Santorini without being touristically overcrowded. So I'm gonna take that opportunity next week to have some of your experience economy again. But that's closer to the future economy than the classical factories with chimneys, etc. That's all the automated stuff.
Just to your point, to tell you that actually this is why the Athenian democracy became, and this is why we had all this flourishing of arts, of mentors, of drama, of the Olympic Games. It was because Athens innovate, and they have the trireme, and the trireme actually was a killer in the territory, and they had all the routes for trade. So they created a lot of wealth, and this wealth helped them. It was a positive spiral of being innovative. And I think when society realized that, I think even governance and public policy will change, trying to embrace technology other than fighting it.
Yeah. Can I make a call on Christina? Because as an essential thing is, do you think we get more leisure time or less? Because if you compare us to the peasants of 150 years ago, they had much more leisure time. So now that we can have all this tooling, we keep on working. We just make more hours because more hours is more work, is more status. Do you think we have more or less leisure time in the future?
My optimistic view is that by getting into this more productive state with more automation, we will actually be able to do more in less time. So we will get more leisure time. That we are not seeing so far. I fully agree with you. But my optimistic view is that this is going to change.
So we can go more.
Another 6 minutes. Carlo, and there is a question for you, but before we go there, I have to tell you that I disagree with you. I think in the past, people used to work, they didn't have idle time because they have washed the clothes. They didn't have all these.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was a back-breaking 24-hour day. It was cold. Food was not available. It was a terrible life to live at some point. Yeah. And in my opinion, so I prefer this era.
Cool.
I have a question for you, Carlo. It says, and I like this question very much. It says, how can we distinguish a bad idea from an innovative one?
Oh, it's the $1 million question.
The way we can avoid making that mistake.
If I would have the answer, I would maybe buy a Greek island and live there.
And I can join you.
Because there are so many people who can exactly predict the future, but afterwards, then they know exactly why something was. Why did Google win and not Alta Vista or one of the other ones? It's the same with the music industry. It's being taken over. The encyclopedia is being taken over by Wikipedia. There were about 100 different alternatives to that. Why this one? Nobody can tell with the wisdom. So all the predictions that you can see in hindsight are wrong, most of them. So it's so difficult. It's to tell which of the casino slot machines will just is just on the verge of having a jackpot. It's so difficult to tell. The only thing I can add to that, because if I would have knew it's the $1 million question, literally. The thing is that is there a problem that you're solving with the technology? That's something. Does it answer to some kind of, to some things that's very deep in our genes that we want to be solved? Like communication answers things, food answers things, everything that we want in the bottom of our Maslow's. If a product answers to that, if this solution is really solving a problem, then you're there. But there are so many solutions that are still looking for a problem, that I would not invest too much in those ones. So think about which problem it's actually solving, and can it do a 10 times better thing instead of a 10% better thing. That's just one selection that you have to make about this big pile of stupid ideas. And if it passes that one, you're closer to, there might be a breakthrough. But if I would have noticed that there's no silver bullet solution for this one, but it is the best question that you can ask.
I agree. Christina, any closing comments or thoughts, or even if you want to tell us how in Vodafone you can tell, you can distinguish a bad idea with a good one. So.
In Vodafone, we have introduced about a year ago what we call the spirit of Vodafone, and this is about how to actually try to be faster in innovating. So I think here the key that we are trying to do in Vodafone is to actually try to experiment more, make mistakes, and learn from the mistakes. So we are creating this space for making mistakes, and the whole idea is to just let people experiment fast, so have faster cycles of experimentation and learning, so that this can actually bring more innovation. I think this is the only way. We should not be afraid of making mistakes, but we need to be also very agile at understanding that this is going to the wrong direction and changing. So I think experimentation and not fearing of failure and learning is the key to promote innovation, and that's what we're trying to do.
I think it's a fantastic summary. If you cannot predict the future, you can prepare by being as agile as possible, be able to make mistakes that not ruin the thing. So be agile, color a little bit of outside the lines, and also cherish a little bit of chaos, because chaos is a perfect basis in order to move very quickly. And chaos is another Greek word. You invented that as well. So cherish that a little bit, because it makes you better apt to change for the future.
And I think I would add also trust. Trust your team, trust your boss, trust the people you work with, trust their ideas, trust their ethics, trust that what they tell you is what they really mean, so you can work together. And if there is trust, you can actually embrace uncertainty, because if you want to change, if you want to deliver a novel idea, you have to embrace uncertainty.
That's true.
And I would say beyond trust, also working together. You need to have much more and more of collaboration to actually be able to innovate. So working together, not in silos, this is also absolutely critical.
So I think with that, we are exactly 10:30. I want to thank you so much for your time, for your amazing presentations, and for your great insight. Carlo, I'm looking forward to welcome you tomorrow in Greece.
Oh yeah, that's
safe flight. See you soon.
A very early flight tomorrow, but see you tomorrow in Greece. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hey, bye-bye.